Recently, I did a video on Steve Harvey and his opinions of atheists. It was as dismal as you can imagine, but as one of the videos I referenced ended, it linked me to this other video, which is called Why I Am a Christian and Not an Atheist. So, of course, I was intrigued. This video doesn't actually have a lot of views, but yeah, I figure it's worth a look because you never know. Maybe, just maybe, he could convert me, or maybe he could convert you. Maybe, just maybe, this man has the answers we are searching for. Maybe this man can inspire faith in Jesus Christ. But I doubt it. Anyway, this video is actually only 2 years old, but the recording quality is so bad, I hesitate to say it was recorded on a potato. If anything, it was recorded on a potato chip. So let's watch it and see what he has to say, but don't expect any miracles.
Yes, good evening. Just wanted to do a quick video on the topic, why I am a Christian and not an atheist. And it's a bit of a, probably a bit of clickbait there to get someone to turn on the video and hopefully have a good discussion, and you can comment on in the comments below of this video.
Well, I hope you feel absolutely fulfilled in your mission, my friend, because I have arrived.
But the main reasons of why I've rejected evolution is not actually Christian material on it.
Hold up. Rejected evolution? What does that have to do with atheism specifically? We know fundamentalists reject evolution all the time, but I don't think evolution is what makes atheists atheists. I was an atheist before I ever knew about evolution. Evolution just kind of like made everything click. But I digress.
Evolution. It is secular material on evolution. And in most atheists...
What secular material disputes evolution? I would really like to see this material, personally. That would be quite fascinating. Anybody got that? Is he talking about like the intelligent design stuff from the creationists who were literally caught changing their material from creationists to intelligent design proponents after the Supreme Court ruling in the late 80s? Is that what's going on here? Is he taking them at their word and just being wrong?
Yes, hold to evolution of some nature, that God was not active at all in evolution. It comes from a single cell organism, all life. And it was two books that I read that really kind of sealed the deal, that I just cannot say evolution is a fact.
Well, get on with it, my dude. Let's hear it. I want to see this. Come on.
The first book is The Butterflies of Toronto. I hate to even mention the book because friends worked on that book. A friend gave me that book, and it's a great book on butterflies. But in it, they say something very interesting about butterflies and evolution. They advocate that butterflies and their plant food co-evolved. Of course, no...
Well, I mean, that is kind of like how it works. There's kind of an evolutionary arms race where things are in competition or occasionally reach symbiosis. I would say that in this case, the butterflies and the plants they live on evolved together, probably first in competition in some way or another, and then evolved a symbiotic relationship. I think you could find the same thing probably with like bees or any other like form of species that pollinates insects, I imagine. I mean, is it really that far-fetched? Come on. I don't see why that makes you question things. Come on.
Data is given in that. No evidence of that, and I don't even know how you could actually prove that it exists, because you would have to physically see it.
I love how this guy is just like freaking out over this calendar. Like, I mean, you know, scientists have studied this stuff for decades and probably centuries and come to these conclusions over a long period of time. But let's make clear. He is talking about a calendar. This man saw this calendar endorse the coevolution of species, and it's just like, why isn't my calendar giving me the answers? Have you ever looked at a calendar and seen God? Because this man has.
I brought this concern to an entomologist, that's someone who studies bugs and butterflies, and you think I would get an honest, clear, scientific answer to my question.
Well, a big problem here is that scientific answers are often not that clear and involve a whole lot of nuance. So, no, actually, you'd expect to get a very complicated answer you probably wouldn't understand anyway, considering the whole calendar thing. But also, I do feel like pointing out, imagine being the scientist who is, like, having to deal with this guy's questions. Now, I appreciate that the guy asks questions. That's really cool. I always encourage people to learn. There's nothing wrong with learning. You should ask questions. That's a good thing. I just feel sorry for the poor scientist that had to sit through this. Or maybe I shouldn't. Maybe he was just, like, also trying not to laugh.
What I got was a tirade on how stupid Christians are, how stupid the Bible is.
Oh, wow. I was not expecting it to go there. I don't know why. I don't think this actually happened now. I think this story is completely fake. I think he made that up. But if it did happen, that is hilarious. And entomologist, wherever you are, I love you.
So I said, okay, can't get the information that way. The next book that I read was Sibley's Guide to Bird Behavior. Now, Sibley's is a well-known ornithologist. He's a guy who studies birds. And in that...
And I didn't listen to him at all. I just decided, you know, these things are too complicated for me to understand, so they just can't be real. You know, I just don't see it. I know he's an expert and all that, but I'm an expert at some things too. And I don't got to be an expert at everything to know this just smells kind of fishy, if you ask me.
In that book, he talks about the evolution of birds, but he never actually resolves the main question of where did birds come from in the evolutionary process.
But that's not what the book is about. Like, that's not... I don't think is that what the book is about? I don't think it was covered under that, was it? But actually, we have a great deal of understanding of where birds came from. Birds, in their modern form, came from dinosaurs. They literally came from dinosaurs, and not just that. We have transitional fossils to prove it. Archaeopteryx. That's a good one. Again, I like that the guy asks questions. That's kind of cool. But you'd think he could ask these questions in a way that gets him the answers instead of just, confusing him further. Maybe he's just not asking in the right places. Although, again, I do think that one story with the entomologist was fake. I think that's the word for it. Entomologist? I hope that's not a word for something completely different. I don't know, man. It's late at night. I have been awake too long.
He lays out two ideas, which is interesting. Evolution's a fact, but here's two ideas where we think birds come from. First is flying squirrels, next is reptiles. The thing you need...
Hold up. Wait, birds came from flying squirrels? I have never heard that claim before. I'm not sure that's in that book. I'm not sure I can believe anything this man is saying. Has this man read this book? If it is the case that is a possible idea, this is the first I'm hearing of it. And if somebody told me that, I might be like, well, shit, maybe evolution isn't real. I don't think birds came from flying squirrels. And I also don't think anybody who studies birds thinks that.
You need to know about humans and birds and reptiles and mammals is we all have different breathing. A bird breathes differently than a flying squirrel. And so how on earth did the breathing evolve to a more of a circular breathing of a bird how did he evolve from the mammal breathing like humans breathe?
Okay, well, birds are not descended from mammals, first of all, but also, despite his somewhat being a little bit misled here by, I think he just misunderstood a comparison or something. Aside from being misled, that's actually a good question, like how different breathing systems emerged, how different forms of things like eyes emerged. That's actually a really good question. And I would really like for him to meet somebody that could actually answer these questions for him. But also, I just want to say one other thing here, which is, this video is called Why I Am a Christian and Not an Atheist, not Why I Don't Believe Evolution is Real. So, I mean, if he's a Christian, for the most part, I assume Christians probably don't really think evolution is real anyway, so that's just kind of obvious. But that doesn't tell me why you're a Christian, that just tells me you don't think evolution is real. I mean, there's a pretty big gap between evolution isn't real, therefore I am a Christian. It's a pretty big gap between these two things. It's a pretty big jump, actually. So I hope he does get there soon.
I brought this up to an ornithologist. Got the same reaction I got with the butterfly question. It was a complete assault and attack upon my belief in the Bible. And the Bible's stupid, you can't believe the Bible, and never actually dealt with my question.
I don't think this happened. And if it did happen, well, what I want to know is, how exactly is he coming at these people that they're coming back at him like this? What is he saying to them to spark this particular reaction? Assuming very generously this did actually happen. What is he saying to them that lets them know, first of all, he is a Christian. Second of all, he doesn't think evolution is real. And, you know, what is he saying to these people that clues them into all of this all at once? Because it has to be something. Like, nobody is just assuming those things right off the bat because you have questions. What is he saying to them? Please, random man, let me know what you were saying to them. I want to know how this conversation really went. I feel like something is being left out here.
But I did talk to a science teacher who teaches biology at high school, brought to him these two very same questions, these two very problems in evolutionary theory. What he said to me was, evolution has a lot of flaws in it. But then he didn't stop there. He said,
what does that mean? Evolution has a lot of flaws in it. It is a flawed process, that's certainly true. We don't fully understand it, that's also true. But what does it mean to say that it's a flawed? What exactly is meant here? You're not really explaining anything about what you're trying to explain. Please, explain what you're trying to explain. Don't just be vague like that. What's flawed? What are the flaws? Please, tell me.
But so does the Bible. Again, I was looking for honest, scientific answers to questions, and what I got were ad hominem attacks of my beliefs. Science was left out of it. They went into full assault mode.
How do they know your beliefs? Are you just coming up to these people like, hey, I'm a fundamentalist Christian. I believe in Jesus, and he's been whispering in my ear recently and telling me that everything you think is real is not real. Explain yourself, Mr. Scientist. What is the context here? If you actually want to learn, I have one great resource for you. I hope you see this video, because I have one that will change your life. Actually, I have a couple that will change your life. First, get the Richard Dawkins book, The Greatest Show on Earth, The Evidence for Evolution. If you haven't read this book, and it doesn't matter whether you're an atheist or a Christian or what, if you have not read this book, read this book. But especially, this guy needs to read that book. The second thing I would recommend is, there is a YouTuber, because we are all lazy here. We're on YouTube for a reason. There is a YouTuber. His name is Forrest Valkai. He explains this stuff extraordinarily well. Clear, concise, and as a bonus, he doesn't know anything about you. I doubt he wants to. And yeah, he's got all the answers you're looking for. Please, if you see this video, go check him out. And also that book.
Upon the Bible and upon my beliefs. Another thing that atheists always seem to think it's a gotcha moment is Christians believe that God created the universe. And things are brought about by cause. God puts creation into motion and creation comes about. Everything that comes about on earth is by God.
I'm not sure what he's arguing here, but let's humor him for a second.
And then they say, therefore, if everything has a cause and effect, and creation is brought about by God, and God caused it, who caused God? And they think it's this gotcha moment.
Well, it kind of is. If your objection to the universe just existing and just like doing what it does through natural laws, if you object to that because it can't just exist, then why are you giving God a pass? I mean, God is infinitely more complex than the universe, and it is very befuddling to think that there's just this random, all-powerful, all-knowing hyper-intelligence just chilling for infinity. Doesn't that sort of like, shouldn't you be like, well, how did that happen? But I know why Christians don't question that. It's because it's too big for them. And yeah, it is too big of a question. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't question it, because it is a good question. If the universe is too complicated to exist by itself, why not God? Why not?
Because God, no one has caused God, therefore this whole argument breaks down.
No, it doesn't, because you have yet to prove that nothing caused God. How do you prove that? The Bible says God caused himself? Okay, well, how do you prove that? I mean, you just take its word for it? Because that's kind of silly. I want to know how this happened. I want answers. I need answers to this question. There's also kind of like a double standard here, because when scientists have no good answers for this guy's questions and just, I guess, make fun of him, he's just like, well, oh yeah, you know, so that I just don't believe in it now because of that. They just didn't have any answers for me, I tell you, so I'm just not going to believe it. Their answers, they just weren't good enough, so I'm not going to buy it. And then when we ask questions about why he believes what he believes, he's just like, well, you know, it is what it is. There's nothing you can do about it. And this question doesn't even make sense. There's a big double standard here, my dude. I hope you can recognize that.
They totally do not understand the fact and the nature that who God is, he does not have a causer. He does not have a creator. God...
Well, prove it. I want to hear some proof. Let's prove it, man. Come on.
By his definition, by who he is creator of all things and is not created, is eternal, is...
Well, how do you know so much about him? Do you have a line to him? Like, can I give this number a call and check it out and see the information for myself? I'd like to know. If all you got's the Bible, I don't consider that to be very good evidence at all, for various reasons.
Is holy and cannot be created. If God is created, then he is not God.
Well, I also find that to be a questionable conclusion. You ever watch Star Trek: The Next Generation? Oh god, this is super nerdy, but ever watch Star Trek: The Next Generation? There's this character called Q. He is an alien superintelligence sort of thing that travels between dimensions and doesn't have linear time and can mold the universe to his will. Is that not basically a god? But yet, he evolved in the series canon. So, I mean, yeah, sure, Star Trek, silly example, but let's just say here, that would be basically a god to us. That he has all the powers of a god in that show. So if God could be created by something, how would that make him less God? I don't understand that.
So I've answered the question why I'm not an atheist. I don't think there's any proof of the declaration that evolution is an absolute fact. But why I'm a Christian is because back in the mid-90s, I was so disturbed and troubled by my sin.
Okay, so he went through all of this stuff about evolution, and he's like, oh, but actually it had nothing to do with that. Nothing at all. That's just some curious stuff to me. What it's really about is I was a sinner. I needed me some Jesus.
Recognized that I was not a good person. I recognized that I was a sinner in the eyes of God.
Oh, and I didn't really want to do the work myself, so I just decided to pray about it, and hope it got better, and I think it did. I think I'm a great person, and who can dispute that?
I recognized that I deserved punishment and judgment.
Whoa! Whoa! This is veering over into some very uncomfortably masochistic territory here. I would know.
For my sin, because God is holy, and I still believe I am unholy and not perfect and a sinner. But what happened?
Very harsh on himself. Jesus.
One day I was in a peach orchard. This is a shout out to Schultz Orchards where I worked in the mid-90s.
What? What is the relevant of this? Do you think they want this as an advertisement? You think they want the weird anti-evolution guy shouting them out? Is that really the best advertisement?
We had a rainy and stormy summer, and I remember I was on the top of a ladder picking peaches. I looked up and I saw this wall cloud, a storm was coming. And I realized that if God came out of that cloud and was to judge me, I would spend eternity away from God's pleasing presence. And the only hope...
God's pleasing presence? What is he talking about? What is he talking about? But also, this sounds like a schizophrenic moment. This doesn't sound like a Christian conversion. This sounds like legitimate, psychosis, doesn't it?
hope and joy for me that I could ever have is the love and grace and mercy of Jesus Christ. I realized at that moment,
oh yeah, so I was just looking up at the dark clouds like, oh geez, what if a big beardy man came out of the sky and told me you are a sinner? I'd feel pretty bad about that, so I just decided to change everything up. I sure did.
Around that time in my life, that the grace of Christ is and was amazing. I realized that the punishment that I deserved to bear for my sin, the things that I've committed, was brought upon the cross of Christ.
What did he do? Like, this guy, what did he do that he needs so much forgiveness for? Like, I don't think I'm the best person by any means. I have made fun of this poor man this entire video. But, like, I mean, I don't think, like, that I'm a terrible person deserving of all these punishments, and I have done some bad things. So what has this guy done? Like, what is he hiding? What are the skeletons in his closet?
In Galatians 3:13, Paul, the apostle, talks about Jesus bearing the curse of the law. That's the punishment of the law. And I recognize that Jesus bore that punishment in my place so that I could have forgiveness and mercy and grace.
Well, that's kind of silly. You never asked for that, did you? He just kind of took that upon himself. You really, that's kind of like gaslighting, isn't it?
It was the love of God and the grace of God that drew me to God. I wasn't seeking God. I didn't like church. I didn't really want to be at church. I didn't really want to know too much about the Bible. But God sought me out, showed His grace and mercy and love to me, gave me faith, gave me the ability to repent, and
I don't really have a problem with, like, conversion stories and stuff, but, like, I have an ex who has, like, severe schizophrenia. She was never, like, religious or anything and didn't care, and then schizophrenia hit, and it was very sudden, like, too. It was really, like, the person I knew died overnight and was replaced by a ghostly thing inhabiting its body. And she never came back from that and has just completely spun off into just like wild, wild stuff. And that's a terrible experience, I gotta say. But this guy, it doesn't sound like a normal conversion experience to me. It sounds like the kind of schizophrenic break my ex had. I mean, I know what that looks like. I was there to see that. It is gnarly. And that definitely sounds like what happened here, although I am not a doctor, so I cannot make that diagnosis. But I mean, well, look at this guy. Something is up.
I turned from my sin and trusted in Christ. That is why I'm a Christian, because of God's grace in my life, God showing me my need for Jesus Christ, God exposing that I was a sinner, God exposing to me that He's a holy God and hates sin. That's why I'm a Christian, and that's why I'm not an atheist.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, what is up with, like, the whole thing on evolution if that's not even the thing that had the relevance here? If, like, the whole reason he's a Christian is just like, oh yeah, so Jesus just came down and was like, hey buddy, you're a sinner, you need some forgiveness, and so I prayed and I was like, oh please forgive me, dear Lord. If that's what happened, why all this stuff about evolution? What does that have to do with it? What's the whole point of that? But I gotta say, I'm glad it happened because that was super funny. Well, that was sure something. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. If you did, please leave a like. If you have something to say, positive or negative, leave a comment. If you have any more absolutely unhinged videos like this you think I should see, please tell me about them. I would love to watch them. And if you want to see more videos like this, please do those things and subscribe. I just stumbled over my words. I'm not going to re-edit it, though. Why bother? Oh, and have a great day, by the way.